Let's begin by telling you that the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy holds press briefing on economic recovery and growth, progress and prospects 2024 as the Federal Ministry of Finance in Abuja. The minister gave an assurance that the president is making considerable strides towards improving the economy. We'll bring you details subsequently. And now let's go to stories regarding the August 1st nationwide planned protest. The Nigeria Defense Headquarters has said the proposed nationwide protest is intended to replicate what happened in Kenya. Addressing journalists in Abuja on Thursday, Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said based on intelligence, the proposed nationwide protest would be hijacked by some unscrupulous element. Buba said the aim of the protest is to show you what is happening in Kenya. He also adds that what is happening in Kenya in terms of the protest is violent. Frustration with corruption and bad governance fueled protests across Kenya in recent weeks that resulted in lives lost, injuries and destructions of property. The protests have also put the Nigerian government on the edge as the people are now planning similar mass demonstrations. Our correspondent Igbalani Yomoni throws more insights.
Kenyans took to the streets for weeks to protest the Kenya Finance Bill, bad governance, high unemployment and corruption. The youth-led movement turned violent at times as police responded, causing at least 24 deaths and hundreds of injuries. Now, Nigerians under the banner of End Bad Governance are planning nationwide protests for next month to press for an end to rampant corruption, insecurity and economic hardship in the country. Citing the violence in Kenya, the government, other stakeholders are worried.
It's definitely undermining the peace and unity of our dear country.
Your crying is right. Your complaint of hardship is right. But is the solution found in carrying placard and lining the streets? Is the solution found in copying a country lesser than us?
If it becomes bloody, we'll be at loss at the end of the day.
The protests, which already have the support of several top Nigerian celebrities, activists and politicians, would demand better governance and restructuring of the country amidst rising inflation, hiking fuel prices and food crisis.
The reason why Nigerians are drowning now is because the only thing they enjoy, that subsidy on petroleum products, which affects everything, you took it away.
These are going to be the aims and objectives of this protest to drive maximum reform.
Some say if well organized and conducted peacefully, the Nigerian faceless protest could put pressure on the government to implement much needed reforms. But fears around proper organization, coordination and control still remain, especially due to the effect of the NSAS protest, which left in its trail destruction from which many victims have still not recovered.
The mistake that Nigerian youths made during NSAS is what Kenyans are making now. Because when they started, like you said, they started well. And on the second or third day, the government had promised that the 5 demands will be met. 5 for 5. And they achieved that. That would have been the end of it. But they expanded their demand. That is like shifting goalposts in the middle of a football game.
If the protest is peaceful, you will see us protecting the protesters for as long as they remain peaceful.
The question remains, will Nigerians succeed in channeling their challenges into a productive protest for change? Will they know when to stop? Or will the country witness the type of mayhem currently rocking Kenya or even in NSAS protest in 2020?
No one should be left behind.
While the government discourages any protest and is doing everything it can to avert the event, only determined organization and disciplined participation will provide the answer. In Lagos 4 News Central, Igbalani Omani.
Earlier, we were joined by National Secretary of the Youth Rights Campaign and that's Francis Nwapa.
I'm the National Secretary of the Youth Rights Campaign, which was one of the organizations that played a pivotal role during the EndSARS protests, and has also played pivotal role in working class protests and struggle, across the nation. I would say that the ruling elite of Nigeria are aware of the hardship that have been imposed on the Nigerian people ever since this administration came in. It has become necessary for Nigerian people to embark on this protest because life has become miserable for people, especially the Nigerian youth, who can no longer feed. As I speak to you, most Nigerian youths depends on friends and families to survive daily. Some have to resort into criminality and prostitution for them to survive.
Still ahead of the planned protest against economic hardship by youths in August, the 36 state governors of the Federation have reinstated their commitment to the security of lives and properties in the country. And this was contained in a communique issued after the governors' meeting, which commenced on Wednesday night and ended early Thursday in Abuja. The communique was signed by the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and governor of Kwara State, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak. The governors under the aegis of NGF said the office of the National Security Advisor briefed the forum on the planned protests. In the meantime, Nigeria's federal government has appealed to youth nationwide to shelve plans for a proposed nationwide protest and express their grievances through dialogue. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation and the Minister of Youth Development spoke to newsmen after a closed-door meeting with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, saying issues bordering on national development was discussed. They assured citizens that the federal government will consider the grievances of the people and come up with a solution addressing their displeasure.
The President has said, all of us, there's no need for any protest. Let us all calm down. A lot is happening. Nigeria is going to move and march on. And we believe that whatever government comes up will be in the interest of Nigeria. We don't think that there is need for any protest. We are appealing for calm. We are appealing for a peaceful resolution or peaceful approach to any issue.
Well, I will just sincerely and genuinely advise my fellow young Nigerians to disassociate themselves from the planned protest, because it's really not a good act for the nation. We must all stand in solidarity with the nation, and beyond supporting government, we need to look at the entire Nigerian project and the impact of the economic reforms, especially the macroeconomic reforms of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is leading.
The Lagos State Emergency Management Agency on Thursday confirmed death of 5 site workers on a building that collapsed at Arowo-Jobe Estate in the Maryland area of the state. The agency's permanent secretary, Dr. Olufemi Oke Osonyitolu, confirmed this in a statement made available to the news agency of Nigeria. He said the incident happened at number 13, Wilson-Mba Street, Arowo-Jobe Estate, Maryland in Lagos State. He adds that 3 males who were recovered dead at the building were site workers. We have our correspondent, Bernard Akede, who joins us live from the site of the incident. Bernard, it's good to have you join me on the news. What more can you tell us about this building collapse? Bernard, can you hear me?
Thank you for having me, Adebola. Well, you clearly stated it in the early hours of today. Tragedy struck here. Can you hear me? In the early hours of today, I was saying that tragedy struck here in the Aruwo Jobe area in Maryland, in Lagos, where what used to be a two-story building standing behind me here came crashing down. Apparently, information reaching us is that the building was under construction, and like you rightly mentioned, there were unfortunate casualties in the building. As at now that I'm speaking with you, we were told that 5 corpses have been recovered from the rubble of this building, and all of them were male, and that another 5 were rescued and have been taken to the Bagada General Hospital and are currently receiving treatment. This happened in the early hours of today, Thursday. We haven't exactly been informed as to what may have caused this a building that was under construction to have come down. But speaking to one of the rescue workers who chose anonymity, he said that it's possible that it's because the area is a swampy area. Now, if you've been following the news, Aruwo Jobe is one of the areas that that Lagos State government officials have been talking about controlling flooding within the area. And subsequently after this, we'll see if we can go around and show some of the areas that are waterlogged. So one of the people I spoke with said it could be part of the swampy nature, the swampy topography of this area that may have caused the building to cave in and come crashing down. Sadly, as I mentioned earlier, 5 people have lost their lives in this building, according to information reaching us, while another 5 are currently receiving treatment.
I mean, quite sad indeed, Bernard. But has anyone in authority been there, and what have they said so far?
Well, we haven't. We just arrived here. We haven't heard of anyone in authority who has been here just now, just yet rather. The message from Femi Osoyintolu, I doubt if he's been here anyway, but it was other officials from the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, who were on the ground here, who gave us that particular information. But one thing I know that they said while we were speaking to them, or that they, emphasized, was that some of the buildings, particularly this one here to my right, which shares the fence with the collapsed building, will be tested for integrity as they do in Lagos State here. And if not found worthy of standing, it will be pulled down. As a matter of fact, as at the time we got here, the officials of LASEMA were knocking on the gate of that particular building you are seeing right there to ensure that there was nobody in there, and then they ensured that the building was sealed. Again, they will be testing the integrity of that particular building and maybe 1 or 2 more buildings around to ensure that these buildings are worthy of standing. It's a regular practice that they undertake every time there's a building collapse. Sadly, if the building fails the integrity test, it will be pulled down as well.
Just to ask, Bernard, do you see any rescue efforts, being carried out there, just to see if more people can be rescued from this incident?
Well, rescue efforts had been ongoing before we arrived here. I think it has been suspended now. I'm not sure why. There's an excavator still standing right there behind me, and there is an operator in the excavator. Again, I'm not sure why, why it has stopped for now, but I believe that it will continue. The rescue efforts that happened from the early hours of this morning is what led to the recovery of 5 corpses, as the information reaching us has it, and of course also the recovery of 5, or should I say the rescue of 5 people who are now receiving treatment at the Bagada General Hospital. So I want to believe that it will still continue because from the information we got, that they will continue digging through the rubble until they get to ground zero. So I believe that in the process of digging, they would also continue rescue operations. Hopefully they find, some people to recover if there's still anyone in there. And if they do, they will ensure that those people will receive whatever treatment that they require.
Well, may the souls of the departed rest in peace. Thank you so much, Bernard Akedi, for your correspondence. And due to the deplorable state of the asphalt pavement and expansion joints on the Odo-Yalaro Bridge, the Lagos State government announced that traffic will be diverted at the bridge from Monday, 22nd July 2024 to carry out emergency repairs. Now, these repairs have now been a source of traffic gridlock to commuters. We have our correspondent there, Bettina Nwili, to fill us in on what's happening. Bettina, good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon, Adebola. Thank you for having me as well.
All right, just keep us abreast.
Right now I'm here at Odo Iyala, the bridge that is being constructed.
Go ahead, Bettina. Keep us abreast as to what's happening there.
Go ahead, Adebola. I can hear you.
Go ahead, Bettina.
All right, so if you look towards my right, you can see the construction of the bridge that is taking place. Now, this construction that you are looking at is coming from Okpebi in Ikeja, and it crosses all the way to Maryland down to Ojota. That is what is going on here, and this bridge is being built on top, or over the canal, and you can see that the construction of the bridge is currently taking place. There's still work going on there. But if you now come back to the main roads, you can see what is causing the traffic exactly in this region. Now, currently right now, on the left side where I am, one part of the road has been closed, and they are diverting to a one-way, which is what is causing the traffic that is going on right here. However, you can see LASMA officials here to make sure that they are in control of the traffic jam that is going on here. But it's been a minute-by-minute thing, maybe 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out. One part of the road will be allowed access to pass, and others have to wait. And then another 5 minutes, the other parts, and they keep switching back to back like that. That is the exact cause of the traffic in this place. And if you look yonder, you can see that the traffic extends all the way to Ojota. It's a very long stretch, and then we keep having trucks that are coming through this road. So you can also see that even the joint of this road that is here is becoming weak. I'm sure that it's something that they would also give attention to. However, on the other side of the road, where they have actually stopped movement of vehicles, you can see the construction workers there as well, because what they are doing there is in connection with the overhead bridge that is being built. So a lot of traffic is happening here, but not for no cause. I would say it's for a good cause that all of this traffic is being faced in this region at Odo Iyala Channel.
Well, I wonder, the people around there, around Odo Iyala, what are they saying about this construction causing traffic?
Well, right now, there is little or nobody to talk to because everyone is in their vehicles. But right after this live broadcast, we'll be heading to Ojota to speak to a few people to understand how exactly this whole traffic jam has affected their daily lives and what they have to say about it, basically.
All right, thank you so much, Bettina Nweli, our correspondent right there, giving us updates regarding the construction at Odo Iyala in Ojota. Many thanks, Bettina. Protesters from Borno South have pleaded with clemency for the sacked chief whip of the Senate, Senator Allen Sowore. The protesters under the aegis of Borno South Development Association, who stormed the Unity Fountain in Abuja, particularly asked the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and the entire Senate leadership to reconsider their decision in the interest of fairness and justice. Addressing newsmen, the leader of the protesters, Mohammed Ibrahim Biu, said Ndume's removal as chief whip is not in the interest of Borno South and Nigeria at large, stressing that justice must be done. Ndume's removal is equal to its pronouncement on national television, describing those in government as kleptocrats.
Of Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume's removal as chief whip of the Senate, a wave of discontent has continued to sweep through southern Borno state. This group, comprising local community leaders, youth organizations, and residents, converged on the NUJ Press Center in Maiduguri to express their dismay over the decision, viewing it as a setback for their representation at the federal level.
Senator Ndume is one of the founding members of the APC in the Senate, and calling for his withdrawal of the membership from the party is unacceptable. This action not only disrespects his contribution to the party, but also signifies that withdrawal of all Southern Borno citizens from the party. I want to categorically state that the APC has deliberately replaced Senator Muhammad Ali Ndume, senator representing the good people of Southern Borno district, with Senator Muhammad Tahir Mongono, representing the good people of Northern Borno at the 10th Assembly, to cause hesitation, puzzlement, confusion, and disunity within the APC party in Borno State. This is not acceptable as far as the unity concerned in Borno State.
The group highlighted the role of Senator Ndume in legislative matters and his advocacy for peace and good governance in the country.
We, the youth of Southern Borno and the Borno State, restate our unified vote of confidence in Senator Ndume and pledge our full support to him. We trust that His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, through his wisdom, and as he always listens to the concern of the youth, will take our request to consideration and make a decision that reflects their determination and the welfare of the youth and the people of Borno State.
The group's spokesperson expressed hope that their appeal will be heard, citing Ndume's experience and dedication as invaluable assets to the nation's governance. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The ongoing political crisis in Rivers State, South Nigeria, seems not to be relaxing soon, as suspected thugs loyal to the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, allegedly disrupted the state government health program at Obia Akpo local government area of the state. An eyewitness who pleaded anonymity said the event aimed at aiding pregnant women and nursing mothers in the areas was stopped as they ran for safety when the armed thugs arrived. She notes that the suspected thugs were allegedly led by a senior police officer, name withheld. She said upon arrival, the police officer and his men shot sporadically, fired tear gas, causing panic and endangering the lives of vulnerable attendees. Also, at an empowerment program organized by Ikwere Local Government Caretaker Committee, the suspected thugs stormed the venue, destroyed cars, and fired shot as some persons were yet to be found. Former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso has weighed in on disagreements between the Dangote refinery and the Nigerian Regulatory Authority. Nigerian regulatory authorities had accused Dangote refinery of rolling out standard petroleum products, a claim the company has refuted. In his reaction, Kwankwaso blamed what he described as unnecessary fuss on vested interests, saying it could damage investor confidence in the Nigerian economy. The presidential candidate of the new Nigeria People's Party in the 2023 general elections described Dangote refinery as a crucial asset for the nation's energy needs and economic stability. He also stressed the importance of protecting the asset from any threat that could undermine its operations. Landlords and residents of Maplewood Estate in Agege, Lagos State, have urged the Ministry of Justice to interpret a judgment that will enable parties to understand their limitations and boundaries. Now, some residents also urged Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to intervene to ensure the restitution of the master plan of the area. Some residents have been in a dispute with a school proprietor, Mr. Peter Motosho, over alleged defacement of the estate master plan, which he denies. He denies unlawfully converting green areas into school, thuggery, and physical attacks.
According to Mr. Akerile's allegations, he alleged that the school has not been paying, the school and Engineer Motosho's residents has not been paying estate due, and Engineer Motosho will not pay estate due, school will not pay estate due because the school has been burglared 3 different occasions, cutting away the 7 brain box of the buses, school buses, cutting away 10 of the school laptops, and a huge sum of 1.3 million. And all these cases were actually reported to the police stations. None of the school, none of the estate's executives show concern about this. They were aware of it. If you go, according to his allegations, he also mentioned someone, Mr. Bolarinwa, who also he was aware. He's one of the executives, and none of them till date has shown concern about that. And the school, so that why should I pay for any dues when you are not even on my side, or you are not even working as a family with me? So there was no need.
Because most of the allegations there were untrue, and those that were true has been clarified before the authorities, which was set up by the Lagos State government. And I'm so surprised that the assertion were half-truth, in the sense that they failed to allude to the fact that there are more than one school within this estate. They equally failed to allude to the fact that the construction of drainage and the slabbing of the road on asphalt, using concrete on asphalt, were not approved by the necessary or required authority of the state.
Development experts in Nigeria have called on leaders in the country and the nation's political elite to draw lessons from Rwanda's healing and reconciliatory journey in the last 30 years in order to avert a looming crisis. And this was as they converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to understudy peace-building efforts in Rwanda, saying despite Nigeria's civil war sharing a similar experience, issues of marginalization, near absence of government presence in some parts of the country, insecurity, among others, continues to inhibit the nation's growth. Our correspondent, Marvelous Obomano, has details.
The Rwanda genocide of April 1994 between the Tutsi and the Hutu ethnic groups and Nigeria's civil war of July 1967 bear a stark reminder that wars and conflicts only have one end, which is death. 30 years after the genocide and 57 years after Nigeria's civil war, many say Nigeria has not learned its lessons as citizens remain disillusioned, aggrieved, with many openly admitting that wounds of the past remain unhealed.
In terms of policies, legislations, and programs, Nigeria needs to articulate a systemic approach to healing the wounds of the past through dialogue, reconciliation, and affirmative programs that will give a sense of belonging to everyone in the Nigerian project. Across Nigeria today, our human rights situational assessment revealed that insurgency and ethnic-related violence are present in more than 15 states, with the attendant consequences on the loss of lives and properties, as well as massive displacements of populations.
Some believe that in pursuit of peace and reconciliation after conflict, especially in a plural society like Nigeria, genuine efforts must be put in place to lessen the pains of citizens.
As we embark on this journey of reflection and learning, let us commit ourselves to the principle of justice, tolerance, and mutual respect. Let us be reminded that the pursuit of peace and reconciliation is not only merely a task for governments and institutions, but a collective responsibility that involves each one of us.
Some experts who came together in Abuja to look at lessons that Nigeria can draw from Rwanda's healing journey blamed government's failure to address the needs and yearnings of citizens, saying many Nigerians remain disillusioned.
We are here not only to reflect on the horrors of genocide, but also to extract valuable lessons from these dark episodes. We aim to understand how nations can heal and rebuild, ensuring that such atrocities are never repeated.
One major driving force behind the insecurity in Nigeria can be attributed to age-long political, ethnic, and religious divisions which have not been managed or addressed by political actors. Added to this has been the vexed issue of misgovernance, corruption, poverty, and inequalities across the country.
From across the north to the south, there are cries of poverty, hunger, marginalization, deprivation, injustice. And many are attributing all these factors to what is fueling the End Bad Governance process that is looming in Nigeria. And there are concerns that government is mainly hovering around the symptoms and not addressing the problem. But a big question really is, can Nigeria afford another nationwide protest, taking a cue from what happened during the EndSARS? That's a food for thought. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomman.
The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, has rejected the rules of the second pot component of the two-component retirement system. The union says two-pot pension reform could have been progressive if it were not for the rules applicable to the second pot, which requires workers to access seats only at retirement age. And this means a worker who is dismissed, retrenched or resigns will not have access to their pensions in lump sum until they become of retirement age. The bill, which was signed by President Ramaphosa, is sent to the Pension Funds Amendment Bill, which amends pension-related legislation to enable implementation of the recently legislated two-pot retirement system geared towards bolstering retirement savings. This dispensation gives members of retirement funds access to retirement savings without having to resign or cash out their entire pension funds. And for more on this, I am joined by the SAF2 spokesperson, Trevor Shako from Gauteng. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having us.
All right. Explain, the main reasons why the union is rejecting the two-pot retirement system. I mean, what are the concerns about the system that led to this decision?
Sure. We are not entirely rejecting the two-pot. We are rejecting the second pot, which is the retirement pot. So what actually is happening here is that the amendment to the pensions fund is going to create three pots for those who are already employees in the South African economy. So they've already accumulated the funds through pension contributions in the past years. Such particular contributions will be put into what we call the vested pot, which means that the old regulatory laws and standards will be applicable to the vested pot, meaning that if you get retrenched or if you are dismissed or you resign, you'll be able to access that money in the vested pot. But the new two pots, which are actually brought onto the sphere and would be the future of South Africa's pension system, will be the savings pot and the retirement pot. Now, all the new contributions from the September month of 2024 will be divided into two, into 33%, 33.33%, and 66.66%, which means 1/3 and 2/3. 1/3 will be taken and put into the savings pot, and then the 66.66% will be put into the retirement pot. In the savings pot, workers will be able to access those funds even before retirement, but they would be able to get those funds, at least at this current moment, up to 30,000. But of course, they will be able to access such funds entirely as the time progresses. But workers, unfortunately, will not be able, if they get dismissed, retrenched, or resigns, will not be able to access the 66.66% that is put in the retirement pot. And that is what we have a problem with. We reject the rules applicable to the retirement pot, but we think that the system is what we have been looking for, where workers can access portions of their pensions before they even go on retirement. The only problem is the rules that are applicable to the retirement.
Yeah, now you cited the loopholes, in these components, which you have, elaborated on. How would you want it reformed to better serve the interests of workers?
Sure. So this is how we actually have advised the government to do as a federation. We've said the government must take the existing regulations that are governing the old pension fund and transport it, or rather move it to regulate the retirement pot, because the current regime is very good. If you get dismissed, you can access your money in lump sum and cash it out and do whatever you want to do. If I'm dismissed today, I will be able to cash out my money. So we are saying to them, as a measure, they must change the rules applicable to the retirement pot and just transport, or rather move the rules that are currently governing the pension system to govern the retirement pot, so that at the time when you are resigning or at the time when you are dismissed or retrenched, you can be able to withdraw money out of your retirement pot. You can't wait. I mean, take, for instance, a young person who, say, is 29 years this year, or 25 years this year, and has only worked for 2 or 3 years. The vested pot will only contain a pension for those particular 2 years, and the rest of the amount will go into the retirement pot. Now, the problem is that into the retirement pot and the savings pot. Now, imagine 66% of such a person locked up somewhere in the retirement pot, and they have to wait until they reach the age of 60, the retirement age, to be able to access that. What if you are dismissed at the age of 30? Will you wait for 30 more years to access your money? Will you be poor whilst you have money locked up somewhere? We don't think that this makes any sense, and that is the reason why we want our government to change such particular rules. But of course, it makes sense to business, because business wants to use the 66.66% for speculative activities in the money markets and for investments, because the pension funds are made available to the private sector for them to be able to utilize them for investments. And as a result, this money is only going to be locked so that it can be accessed by the capitalists, whilst the working class who contribute to such particular funds are the ones who are suffering.
But then people have concerns as to if this new reform is implemented, like you have rightly stated, there could be corruption or even mismanagement of funds, in this new system. So what can be done to guard against mismanagement?
Look, mismanagement exists anytime. Even in the old pension scheme, there is chances for mismanagement. There are chances for fraud. Those things are not conditional on the fact that there are new regulations and there's a new system that is put in place. What, of course, has to be done is for government to ensure that there is proper due diligence before dishing out this money, so that they can be able to ascertain that people who are withdrawing from the savings fund are indeed withdrawing on their own, or they are forced by someone. That's one. But two, we as trade unions, including government itself, have got again another responsibility of educating the workers to say, don't go and withdraw money from the savings pot if there's no need. I mean, if you don't have financial need and financial distress, why do you have to go to the savings pot and withdraw just because you can access it? So restraint must be exercised by individual workers, and it is our responsibility as the trade unions and government to educate workers that they should not just use such particular savings. But I think workers are also mature enough to understand that they're not going to withdraw money from their savings retirement pot only to spend it on alcohol. They will only go there to withdraw whenever there's a need. They will only go and withdraw whenever there's an emergency for financial obligations that they have to meet, either in their personal lives or in their families' lives. So we think that those are the things that ought to be done. Of course, scammers will come and scam. They've been there always.
I wish we had more time. Thank you so much for your time on the news. Trevor Shaku, SAF2 spokesperson. Many thanks indeed for your time. In East Africa, where we understand that the death toll from devastating landslide in southern Ethiopia has risen to 257, the United Nations said, warning it could increase to up to 500. In a statement citing local authorities, the UN Humanitarian Agency said the death toll has risen to 257. Humanitarian agencies scrambled to rush emergency relief aid to the stricken community after the deadliest such incident recorded in Ethiopia, a country highly vulnerable to climate-related disasters. At least 25 migrants have died and dozens are missing after their boat capsized off Mauritania. The country's news agency, AMI, made this known on Wednesday, and the latest in a string of migrant tragedies off the coast of West Africa. According to a Coast Guard captain cited by AMI, the Mauritius Coast Guard saved the lives of 103 illegal immigrants and recovered 25 bodies following the sinking of their boat off the coast of the capital, Nouakchott. Approximately 300 people boarded a pirogue in Gambia and spent 7 days at sea before the boat capsized near Nouakchott. IOM said among the survivors, 10 people were urgently referred to hospitals for medical care, and 4 unaccompanied and separated children were identified. Kwara United has successfully secured the services of Adekunle Samuel, a defender formerly with Bayelsa United. Now, the transfer, completed for an undisclosed amount, puts an end to ongoing speculation about Samuel's future in football. Previously, there were rumors linking Samuel to Sunshine Stars, as well as suggestions that he might extend his contract with Bayelsa United. The defender caught attention with his strong performance last season, featuring in 21 league matches for Bayelsa United. With this move, Samuel joins the ranks of Kwara United, marking a significant addition to their defensive lineup. And that's all on the news. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. The military has warned of potential violence over planned nationwide protest, cited Kenya unrest. 5 workers have died as building under construction collapsed in Lagos State. We also told you that Ethiopia landslide death toll has risen to 257. UN says could rise to 500. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.